one of the things, um, TJ, of course, we knew he brought the dual threat, and they came out with that QB run early. And I think that was to just kind of let them know, like, hey, we're not going to be afraid to run this guy. But one of the things that I think it really does, because some of the concepts that have shown up on tape are designs that we're just not getting the timing on, because we're not, Raiola doesn't have the ability to move the pocket. We're not, they're not opening up, and there's not time for them to open up. And by the time that they need to be there, his eyes are moving, or he's having to move, or he's not stepping up the pocket, et cetera, et cetera. What his legs were able to do is kind of delay the defense a little bit. And just that half second delay gave everything an opportunity to actually just kind of set up in front of him. And here's the only thing that the only problem that I have, because I can't get behind a lot of the, again, Dylan's a great quarterback. I can't get behind like we're benching Dylan next year, that type of thing, or that type of thing. Just yet, because if Dylan was playing behind a better O-line, I think we would see a lot more of what we saw yesterday with the timing stuff opening up and stuff like that. But I think TJ adds that element that we need behind this current O-line. And that's not to say he's even the better quarterback behind this line, because again, UCLA not great defensively, not even good defensively in a lot of ways. So we'll see over the next couple of weeks. But what it does is set up a lot of the deficiencies on this, or kind of mask a lot of the deficiencies that really work against Dylan, and allow just a split second, a moment of opportunity. And credit to Lateef, man, because even when the pocket was kind of collapsing around him a few times, like he just hung in there and trusted that the play was going to open up. He trusted his guys to do their job. And that is something that, for whatever reason, Dylan's taken a lot of shots over the last couple seasons. Very well could be due to that. But like he gave the plays a little bit of a chance to set up. And again, UCLA is not, didn't get a ton of a pass rush on him and stuff like that. But that little hesitation that they had on the defensive side of the ball, and then mixing up with the motions, then you got Emmett jumping in there and doing what he does, like all of that just delays them a little bit and then makes them hesitate. And then it gets them on their heels. And then once they were on their heels, it was just kind of like he could sit back and cook. Because we've seen what the element of running quarterback can just do to our defense, So think about that. Yeah. Flipped around.
Nico. I almost said his brother's name there.
Yeah.
Nico was basically their entire offense for UCLA. And this is where, for me, it was frustrating to watch, because I love mobile quarterbacks and I love Dylan Raiola, but seeing how much a mobile quarterback changes things for your offense, to me, is just what Nebraska needs. Now, I'm not saying you go out and you bench Dylan by any means. I think
for sure
that would be
but I'm with you, just based on what the offense is at this moment and the deficiencies that it has.
The big one I think of is it was his first pass attempt. It was a play action rollout. They had Emmett in the flat, and then I believe it was Dane Key or Hunter coming from the opposite side of field on a drag route. And they just gave him 2 quick reads or take off and go. Of course, he hit, I believe it was Hunter actually on that play. But they actually came back to a very similar play at the end of the game. Tough situation, right? It's a 4-minute drill. I believe it was second down. It might have been first. But the trust that they showed in TJ there to make that throw, and I tweeted something to the extent that at least one of our coordinators has the balls to close this game out, because that was them saying, we're not going to give you a chance to get the ball back. We're going to keep you on your heels. You think we're running it? Nope, we're going to roll it out and throw it. And he took a big hit. And that's what I remember the most, is he took a big hit and fired it in there perfectly for the completion. And I think he did very good. He played within the offense. UCLA's defense is terrible. So I want to keep that into perspective. But when I look at the touchdown pass to Emmett on the wheel route, that play, they had Carter Nelson, it looked like on a post, and he was looking at Carter, which pulled the safety over and then freed up Emmett on the wheel route. There was a couple of times in the game where he used his eyes to move a safety to clear up something underneath. And
Well,
that was what was really good, is he was executing.
there was that one play where it was kind of like the delayed, was it kind of like the handoff, and then Emmett was delayed out of the backfield, but came out in 12 personnel. And I think it was Carter Nelson motioning across, if I'm not mistaken. You know which one I'm
Yeah, I
talking about?
believe Carter going right to left. Then
Yeah,
it turned into a wheel route.
so Carter was going right to left, and like that was a beautiful play design, because like essentially what they did there was you make them pass those zones, and that they're this is kind of where Holgerson's kind of genius shows, because in that play they're coming out in 12 personnel, and they had a look earlier in that game. 12 personnel, by the way, is one run back, two tight ends, for those that don't know. But they came out and ran the ball in that look a bunch, and then they blocked and set everything up like this was going to be a run, right? And UCLA, I think they had they kind of were rolling. They had like a rolling to like a single high zone. I'm not sure if it was like cover 3 or cover 6. I can't remember off the top of my head, because I need to see the full press box to be able to see the full field to see what the coverage was. But basically what they did was, when they moved Carter Nelson across, like I don't know if you saw number 6 on that side kind of pass that wave out to signal that zone exchange. So like whenever Carter Nelson came, he kind of ran that seam, but that run motion, that fake run motion, brought the linebackers up. Then you had, I think it was Heiner Carberg coming off the other side on a little like flat. And so then that occupies one of the linebackers. Then you had Carter Nelson coming off that other side, which occupied number 6 long enough to where Emmett was able to just kind of sneak out around him. And basically what they did was, that was just kind of like a misalignment thing, where they just kind of like flooded the numbers over there, essentially. So like it forced UCLA to like communicate, which they don't do a very good job of. They're not a very good communicative defense as it sits. So we saw that a lot throughout the night. And but he knew as soon as they motioned over, okay, like this is zone. So this is exactly what he wants. And then he fakes they fake the inside handoff, and he rolls it right a little bit, which just gets everybody just slightly stepping to that side. And then you have like Harburg, I think, was running like a little short, little flat route, if I'm not mistaken. And then you have the tight end Carter Nelson on the other side, kind of running that deep kind of just kind of running across the face of number 6 there. And that little bit of a delay allowed it to where he wasn't able to get back over in time. But basically they just kind of created like a run pass kind of conflict over there, and just overloaded that side. So they didn't have enough people to take on, because you're bringing a tight end across, and then you're bringing the other tight end on that side of the field. So you have one coming across to that side of the field, one coming up the field, and then you have the running back coming to that side of the field. And you don't have enough guys over there to really cover all that. On top of that, your linebackers are their first step is forward. So like it was just a beautiful play design all around. And then just, of course, TJ executing as good as he did, trusting that throw was going to be there, because it's not an easy play to just look right and then all of a sudden just, be ready to throw it and just, throw it in rhythm. Sometimes you're going to like hesitate, because it's like, okay, you're thinking to yourself, is this going to be open? Should I just throw it? Like it just overall was a beautiful play concept design. And that's what we saw throughout that route progression with the flat, the over, leak. You're just stretching the zones horizontally and vertically as much as you can. And that's all built off of Emmett, though, because without Emmett being as successful as he was running the ball, like that bootleg misdirection stuff, that's not ever going to work. So you have the flat, the over, the leak, and then you have that guy who's supposed to be a curl flat defender, and he can't even get back on it time because you overloaded his zone. Like it was beautiful. It was a beautiful concept. And then we saw that like again all throughout the night. And TJ was just the perfect quarterback, I feel like, to run what they needed to do, especially against his UCLA defense, who cannot stop the run to save their lives to begin with. So already they were going to be stressed, with Emmett Johnson coming in there. So yeah, just overall is just like a beautiful play call by Holgerson, beautiful game design by him, and then execution by everybody. I mean, blocking down the field was great. Like it requires all 11 still at the end of the day. And so we saw a lot of really good stuff. There's another play that I'll talk about here in a little bit, where is that Dane Key quick little slant. kind of over the middle. You remember
Talking
that
about
one?
RPO. It was RPO, right?
Yeah, so they brought Dane Key across, and you had Heinrich Harburg lined up right there. You had Dane Key, I think, right next to him. And so whenever they brought him across, again, those zones communicated, one step down, one stayed back. But what basically Harburg did is he knew, like, once that guy stepped down, he just ran right into his chest, right? And then that guy just got basically picked out of that. And the other guy, like, they did that so they wouldn't get picked. And then you have Harburg who just blew right through him, right? Occupy that guy, and the other guy got picked, and then Dane Key's able to just make a quick little slant, like, and then that goes for, I don't know what it went for, 30, 40 yards. But it's just the little things like that, like those little execution things. That's why I tell people, like, and talk about on the show a lot, like, when we're not executing offensively and it looks abysmal, sometimes it's the smallest little things that are really making those things kind of fall apart. It's those smaller, like, like when that motion comes across, maybe Harburg doesn't get into his chest enough, or, doesn't get off the ball fast enough to be able to get that guy screened off in time, or create that little misdirection. Like, those little things matter, and that's the difference. And I think that little bit of a hesitation that TJ was able to create just early on, with his ability to run the ball, I think that just made all the difference.